What's up? Welcome back to my channel. My name is Caela, and today we're going to be talking about if deaf people can work and how can they work and everything. So, I am really proud of all deaf people who do work because it is really hard to know a different language and speak a different language and then work with people who don't know it and don't try to learn your own language. So first thing, can deaf people work? Yes. I don't know why people don't think so. Just because their ears do not function like yours doesn't mean their hands, their legs, their feet, anything else doesn't function the same, because it is. They just can't hear. Oh my god. Imagine, right? So yeah, they can work pretty much any single job. Obviously there's some jobs that are not really functional for them, just kind of like anything. Like, I have epilepsy, so I can never be a driving instructor because I can't drive. That is a safety hazard. But for deaf people, it's not like they can, the people who do the captions, it's not like they can be listening to a movie and do the captions. Sometimes jobs just aren't meant for you. Even hearing people, they just don't have that skill, so they don't do that job, which is totally okay. And there's also a thing called the American Disabilities Act, and in it, for deaf people, they can get reasonable accommodations. Not even just for deaf people, but for other people with disabilities, you can get reasonable accommodations, which also includes an interpreter. When I was younger, I just thought interpreters are all in person, but we are really lucky now that technology has evolved, and you can have an interpreter online. So if you have a phone, if you have your laptop, you can have an interpreter right like in front of you. There's a bunch of devices that can help you if you're like face to face to people. But yeah, deaf people can work. They can work pretty much any single job. I feel like a lot of people just think deaf people, but like, you gotta realize they are people who happen to be deaf. Okay, like, it's not a group of just deaf people. It's people who share the similarities of just not hearing, which is okay. I do have to say, it is definitely hard. When I worked in like food service specifically, I worked at so many jobs. I worked at like a cafe. I worked at Cold Stone, loved Cold Stone. Where else did I work? I've worked at so many other places. Oh, I worked at Dairy Queen. I actually had this person yell at me because it was at Dairy Queen, I remember. And I don't know, I messed up his ice cream. Like, it's not the end of the world. And he was behind me and he was yelling at me, and I didn't hear him, but my coworkers did. He's like, "What, are you deaf?" And I'm really lucky to have amazing coworkers because I wore hearing aids then, and they were like, "Yes, she is." And so I had to go up to him and be like, "I'm sorry, like, what's the problem?" And he's like, "Yeah, you heard me." And then my coworker's like, "No," she's like, "She's deaf." And I was like, "Yes, I am deaf. I'm sorry." And he's like, "No, you're not." And I was like, "I am. I'm sorry that I speak and you just don't believe it. Like, what do you need? How can I help you?" And like, when I was being nice, he started feeling bad. He's like, "Oh my god, I didn't know." But like, there's just some situations, sometimes work like that, you just gotta go with it. It doesn't mean that you can't work if you are deaf, but you just gotta really work around that. Sometimes it definitely sucks, but it's okay. If you do work with deaf people, definitely try to learn their language and try to communicate with them. It's definitely really sad when you work somewhere and no one tries to communicate with you. And yeah, I hope this helped, and I hope people start believing that deaf people can do anything, because why not? They can. Imagine if someone said that about you. "Oh, her arm hurt, she can't do anything." Like, that would hurt your feelings. So yeah, just be more accepting.